Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. Your hosts, Daniel.
And Aaron over here.
Perfect. Always perfect. Um, so if you haven't listened to the past episodes, we've been following kind of the business side of things and starting a business and what that looks like. And we want to keep that focus, as much as the summer has really kind of hit everybody. We had guests planned, things have changed. They actually sent an email saying they're super busy, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
so they know who they are. If they're listening to this, hey, good job. We want you to be busy. We want you to have success out there in the field. And but the whole business strategy, business talk is so many people shy away from it. And I've seen it a lot. I mean, you have your podcasts that talk about it and everything, but once you get into the business, a lot of the employees, and even when I wasn't a business owner always, right? I mean, I worked at fast food restaurants, warehouses, different things.
Sure.
You never really get to see the business side of it. You don't understand what that is.
hmm
You see someone in that position, you don't understand the stresses. You don't get it. You don't know what's actually happening there.
It's very true.
We have it here. I want to do what Aaron's doing.
hmm
How many times have you heard that?
From every employee, at least everybody knew what they would bring on.
Literally everybody.
Everybody knew that we've brought on so far.
I can only think of one person who has never said that.
Yeah.
And that's the girl up front.
Yep.
She's not said it once.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. You see those people and you say, well, I want to do what they're doing. Do you even know what they're doing?
Yeah.
Do you know what they have to do?
hmm
Do you know what is involved in that? A lot of people say the same thing about running a business, right? I want to do that. Well, do you know what that takes?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't,
I agree with you.
So today we want to talk about rules, playing by the rules.
Oh, man. Rules?
Rules.
Yeah, right. Such a negative connotation of the word rules.
Well, let's go back. God, how long have you been here? 2 years? 3 years?
2 and some change.
2 and some change.
Yeah.
2 years. Okay. Let's go back 2 years. What did the rules look like 2 years ago for us?
Okay. It wasn't a free for all.
No, it was not a free
It wasn't a free for all, but there was definitely a lot of room for interpretation when it came to growth, what your responsibilities were, at least on the technician side. I started off in the office, so my responsibilities were pretty straightforward: answering phones, collecting payment information, collections, invoices, whatever the day to day in the office looks like. But on the technician side, what I saw early was people were kind of creating a lot of these rules, and they were being squashed over and over again. But it was like after they were squashed, new rules would come up out of nowhere, or new policies or new expectations. And, you know, I didn't know any better. So I was like, oh, this is just how it is at first.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it was kind of a free for all. And what the thing is what we learned, and this is why we're talking about this and opening it up, is we learned the hard way.
hmm
What we didn't take an experience from somebody who already learned this. It's we had to figure it out on our own.
Yeah.
And it was a free for all. So Aaron came in, and it was essentially the techs could make up their own rules. Office was making up their own rules. This is kind of where it came from. And so we had to come together and actually stop that.
hmm
And that's what we're trying to get past, right? You play by your rules. The rules that you create as you start your own business is the rules that you have to play by, but everybody else also has to play by that.
hmm
Okay. And that's something we create that rule, then everybody starts to play by that rule.
Yeah.
And we do too, right? You have to hold that standard. You don't play by that rule. Well, that rule means nothing.
Right.
And it'll just kind of go to the side. But the other part of that is you have to stay on top of the rules.
Sure.
So the rules that we create, are you putting your foot down and squashing that right away?
Yes.
So think of it as the freeway, driving a vehicle.
Okay.
Right? We have rules. We have laws. We have to follow those laws.
hmm
Now, you don't technically have to follow all of them all the time,
Sure.
right? But if you see a cop on the side of the freeway, and he's radaring, what does everyone do? They slow down
Mhm.
because they know if they catch me not following that rule,
Yeah.
I'm going to get a ticket. And that usually sets across the board. Most people will follow the speed limit or up to the max of what they can get away with.
Mhm.
And then they'll stay below that. Not everyone, not all the time. And that's in a business as well, right? You're not going to follow the rules all the way 100% as employees, so any techs that are listening, any office personnel listening, we understand that. But the idea is most of the time you're playing by those rules,
Yeah.
and in some occasions you're going to have to break some of those rules. And we understand that as well. But if someone catches you, are you saying something? Or are you shying away from that? And that's where so many people, it's hard for them to see, hey, I want to be in that position. I want to be in that position. But you have to be the one that punishes when
And
the
enforces
rules.
the rules.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's hard.
Mhm.
That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
You know, what were some of the basic rules? I want to give out some examples. So when
Yeah.
whoever's creating their business now, it's you create these rules now because then it's so much easier later because you don't have to go and change someone who's been with you for 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, by the way, you can't show up late anymore.
Mhm.
And they're
Yeah.
gonna be like, what? I have to be here on time.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, duh. I let you do it because I had to, I had to get I had to keep you here.
Sure.
I had to have a worker, so I let you show up late.
Sure.
But now we can't. So set these rules now. But what are some of the rules that we created as time went on? Can you think of any good ones?
I'll give you a really good one.
Okay.
So it's a little bit longer one of it's kind of a story. So when I first got here, at least since I think the entire time pros or the business side has been around,
Yeah.
we allow the technicians to bring the vehicles home. So they from their house in the morning, they drive to their first appointment, they clock in late to their first appointment, do their day. When they're leaving their last stop, they clock out and drive home. Right. It's all part of the vehicle company policy we have lined out. Everything was good from my perspective. Everybody seemed relatively responsible and following the rules.
Yeah.
We started to grow. We started to add on more people, taking on more routes, more accounts. You know what I mean? Trying to be more efficient, get some more stops in a day. We ended up having, and I think we talked about it in a couple past episodes, but we had a couple drivers who had a pretty bad months where it was, what was it, like four like little fender benders in like about a 3 month span.
Oh
And
man.
before that, it was like nothing, like for years and years was nothing. And then we got in this period where guys were just playing bumper cars out there. And
Mhm.
we were like, dude, what the hell's going on? So we actually installed Metrodyne cameras to monitor not only what's going on outside the vehicle, but also inside the vehicle to protect our assets as we're looking at it on the business.
Yes.
Of course, and we went through that episode, a while back after Pest World, but
Yeah.
we had resistance, we had guys not wanting to do it, they were taping the thing up. We had to set it straight where it's like, "Guys, you have to have this. A, this is not your vehicle. This
No.
is the company vehicle that we're allowing you to use to take to and from work, which you're saving money on your own personal vehicle for gas." We won't get into that. We started to find out a lot of things. Guys would start taking different routes, like 15 minutes out of their way to go to an in and out, and then like 30 minutes back to their next route. And we're wondering why they're missing time frames. Guys at the end of their day would, stop and, go get a haircut and then go and do grocery shopping and this and that, which when I'm saying it out loud, it might not sound like it's a big deal, but everybody has to play by the same rules. And guys took it hard at first when
Mhm.
people that have been here for a couple of them like longer than me, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? They would
Yeah. Yeah.
come in and they would go and they would do something with the truck and they'd message me like, "Oh man, I'm just doing this real quick. Don't worry about it." And I'm like, "No, like we can't allow that to happen."
Mhm.
Because when you allow it to happen, like you said, I think it was before in the intro, once you allow something to happen, trying to correct it after you allowed it is like ripping teeth out.
Mhm.
So, at least in my experience with that, the whole point of that story was the driver policy rules that we had. We have to be so strict and across the board with everybody. Like nobody's safe. You know what I mean? And I don't want to seem like we're in danger, but it's like everybody has to follow the rules, even me and you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Uh-huh.
Because that's the culture, that's the standard we have to set.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, and that's a good one, you know. Most people are like, "Well, I don't wanna do that. It's Big Brother, the cameras, they're
Mhm.
listening, blah, 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 blah." Uh, and there's a lot of rules that you can set on those cameras, and no, we don't listen. The cameras actually don't have a micro they do have a microphone, but you can't have it on, so we're
Mhm.
not listening to conversations.
Yeah.
I don't have time to sit down and look at cameras 8 hours, and nobody does.
No, I hope not.
No manager, no owner, nobody has that time.
I hope you're not doing that if you're a manager or owner.
Well, you're just wasting time and you
Yeah.
should be let go or fired or
Yeah.
something, right? You shouldn't be doing that. But the cameras there are for coaching
Mhm.
and to make sure, are we being safe and is there any corrective action that we need to take
Yeah.
to make sure that our asset, and when we say asset, we mean it by with two things, right? The person driving and the vehicle. So it's not that we're protecting a vehicle. I can replace a vehicle.
Mhm.
I can't replace a leg.
Mhm.
I can't replace an arm.
Mhm.
You get a head injury, I can't fix that.
Yeah.
You know, some of those things are permanent
Mhm.
and you're going to have issues with it years down the road.
Correct.
So that's what people don't understand. Technicians out there in the vehicle listening. The reason why you have a camera, the reason why there's rules and regulations. Now, somebody screwed up. Okay. That's why. So you get punished for it, even though you're the best driver in the world. You're getting punished because someone did something stupid.
Mhm.
Okay. And we had that. We had a dozen different things happening all at once within a couple months. And it was just, hey, guys, guess what? We have to do it now.
Mhm.
I don't want to, but we have to. But creating those rules prior, I'm big on trying to prevent something bad happening,
Agreed.
right? If I can prevent a wreck, oh, I'm going to do it. I will do whatever it takes,
Oh, yeah.
you know, because it's a nightmare. It's a mess. It's a problem. It's so much added work. And guess who gets stuck with that work? I'll let you guys try to answer that. It's not the guy who's driving it,
Bingo.
you know. It's not the office personnel answering the phone.
Mhm.
You guys don't have to deal with that. At the end of the day, when you clock out, you leave. You're done. You can turn this off up here.
Yeah.
You can start thinking about what video game you're going to play that evening, who you're going to hang out with, what are you going to drink, what are you going to eat, whatever's going on. You can turn that off.
Mhm.
What you don't realize is as you start climbing the corporate ladder, or even if it's not corporate, it's just a family owned business, you start stepping up and getting higher on those ranks, the more you can't turn off and walk away.
Mhm.
So the rules that you create actually help you make it easier. And that's what people don't understand.
Mhm.
That's what you have to get. You have to understand and get that now.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that now, it's so much harder later.
100%.
So with that little rule that we created, we had pushback in the beginning from a couple people, and then as time went on, it just became the standard.
Mhm.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
We hire on new techs and they're like, yeah, I had a camera in my last company. Like, yeah, whatever, I get it, I know.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, our system's a little bit different than theirs because it's a coaching program,
Mhm.
so it's a little bit different, but they understand that.
Yeah.
And then we've created things to that rule. If you play by the rule, you get rewarded.
Yeah.
If you don't play by the rule, you're going to get punished, as it should be,
Yeah.
right? And so you start to see that culture shift and change. That was one of many things we had to do,
Yeah.
to make life a lot easier. We had a rodent procedure that we had to create,
Mhm.
that we set a standard across the board.
Mhm.
We had some people that didn't like that
Yep.
because they had a free for all. And now we standardized it across the board as this is what it is. And every tech who's doing that does the same thing.
And the cool thing about it is what has helped, Daniel and I, and I've been able to see it where the rodent procedure he's talking about is when we're actually going and doing rodent inspections. In the past, we
Yes.
used to just do it all up in our head. And you have somebody who's organized, who's done sales before. Sure, it works. You can convey that. You can write down the notes. But what we had to do was actually create a fillable sheet that was itemized. And you won't go too much in depth into it, but there is a process and procedure now for the rodent estimate, the actual exclusion work, the trapping, and then the follow-ups. And there's a lot of documentation that we have now for a lot of different reasons. And we had guys who were doing it for years. And it wasn't like, oh, this will help. It's like, no, you have to do it. Like, if you want to continue to make money doing this side of the work, like, you have to do it now.
Yeah.
And it was a hard pill for some people to swallow, but looking back, it was like one of the best things we've ever done for the rodent side of the business.
Yeah, honestly. Well, it's because when you and this is my fault, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I get in it, I'm doing it, and I have everything up here.
Mhm.
It's the tribal knowledge.
Sure.
I have it. I have it all here. I know how everything runs. I get it. It's all up here.
Yeah.
I smashed my head on the road one day. It's gone. It's all gone. There's nothing written. There's nothing put out there. It's
Mhm.
dead, right? And that's scary because even if somebody else has that, the second that they're gone, now what?
That's a good point.
You know? And that's what people have to realize. And it was so hard because it's just like, well, I'm in a truck. I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm the guy doing this. Who cares?
Mhm.
I can train you and then you'll have the tribal knowledge, right? Nothing's written down, but you'll just know it.
Of course.
And that's not how scaling and growing works.
Mhm.
That's why there's books and pages and rules and everything on the grand scheme of things. Even with big corporations, you want to talk about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett and his CEO and everybody that he has that are higher officers, they can't even be on the same airplane together
Yeah.
in case that airplane goes down.
Mhm.
They've created rules so that they are safe if something does happen.
Yeah.
And they know he's going to die someday.
Sure.
But even then, while he's alive, he's not allowed to be on the same airplane as one of the other executives. They don't allow it.
Mhm.
Same with Coca-Cola, same with all of these massive companies. They don't allow those things because they have to protect that knowledge. Now, it is written down, but they also have to protect that asset because that person is the one running everything. So
Sure.
it's, hey, we got to keep that person safe because if something does happen, we're screwed. And they may not be because you can go hire somebody else, right?
Sure.
But they still want to say, hey, we want to protect that person as much as possible. And with that, these are the rules that we're creating.
Yeah.
So you think, whatever, it doesn't really matter. No, it does.
It
It
does matter.
really does. And what happens is you create a peace of mind across the board too.
Mhm.
That's something that we started seeing as the rules started coming in, is everybody seems to be more at ease.
100%.
They don't have to worry as much because they know what to expect.
Mhm.
If I show up late, I know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
If I don't give notice about being sick, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If I go out and do my day and I do everything correctly, I know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
If I go and drive really well and get the best score by next month, I know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
And everybody starts to understand,
Yeah.
oh, hey, I know what's going to happen if I do these certain things.
Mhm.
And it starts to create a even playing field for everybody.
Mhm.
And that's another thing people don't understand.
Yeah.
As you start to grow, I want to keep Aaron happy. Because if he leaves, then what? Well, then you have to find another person.
Mhm.
You know, that's work.
It
I don't
is.
want to take on any more responsibility. I don't want any more work. I want to get pulled back further and further. So if I don't create rules for Aaron, then he'll stay and he'll be happy. That's my mindset. The
Mm.
problem that happens is Aaron's not happy
Mhm.
because he doesn't know. Because if he goes and screws up and thinks, I was just doing everything right, and I'm like, dude, no, that was stupid,
Mhm.
then you start to have issues.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, dude, that was common sense.
Yeah.
Well, common sense for me,
Yeah. It's like, you never told me that.
maybe not for Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah. I
You
see.
know, we have guys, if they go really slow on a route and they didn't understand the time and how fast they should be going and things like that. And it's like, what's going on? Because
Yeah.
this is not okay.
Yeah.
But we talked to him right away.
Mhm.
We squashed it. And now this person is going fast,
Yeah.
you know? And the more we do that, the more you jump on those things and you follow up with the rules and you're disciplining on those rules or you're sitting down and having talks, the faster everything starts to even out.
Mhm.
And now this guy, he loves it. He's
Doing great.
enjoying himself, you know? It's like, hey, cool. I know what that rule is. I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
And they're happy. I'm happy.
Yep.
Everyone's left alone. Do your own thing. Have your freedom. I don't care.
I like that. Yeah.
As long as you're following those rules, then I don't have to sit down and talk to you.
Mhm.
I can sit down and talk to you and praise you.
Yeah.
I don't have to sit down and have that hard conversation
Mhm.
that nobody wants to have. But the cool thing is as you set those rules, you know, and I know that you broke the rule.
Yeah.
I don't even get mad at you.
100%.
Here's your write up. You know what happens if you get enough write ups, right?
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you that.
Mhm.
You know, I'll tell you that anyway, but you already know.
It's already been communicated. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's so
Yeah.
true.
So when you're creating those rules and those standards, you really start to help everybody out across the board.
Mhm.
And it's really get out of your own way.
Mhm.
You're the one that's creating them. You're a manager and you're in the office. You're a route tech in your vehicle. You're in the office and you're answering phones. If there's not rules set, set the rules for yourself
Mhm.
intelligently.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, think it through. Don't create a stupid rule where it's like, hey, I'm going to wait till the phone rings 3 times and then pick it up.
Yeah.
Like that's going to matter, right?
Mhm.
It's like, hey, create a good, solid standard for yourself and rules
Yeah.
so that it can be copied and pasted across the board. Because you can be a critical part of that growth, especially with small companies. If your management team is getting pulled in every direction and you know, hey, I can do this for them, these are all opportunities for growth. We go back couple episodes, that's exactly what we're trying to help. We're giving the employees insight of what's really going on, but also for management, this is what you have to do so that they stay happy and they understand what's going on.
Mhm.
If they sit down and fire me, I know why they fired me.
Yeah.
I'm not upset. I mean, I can be upset about it, but I know
True.
why because I broke the rules. So you start to create that and it makes it so much easier for everybody across the board. Management all the way down to the bottom. And if the bottom's helping out the top, top's gonna help out the bottom.
I agree. I agree. I think it's the clarity too, because in that situation you gave, if we're not setting rules in general, I think it's not a bad idea to, if you're just getting into a company and things are unclear, to
Mhm.
go to a manager, go to the operator or the owner and say, yeah, I know this is what the job entails, but specifically, I want to know in this situation what you expect of me. And if you're looking to grow, and you can sprinkle that in to say, because when I'm training the next guy, I want to make sure that he can pull my slack so we can keep moving forward.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Instead of just making up kind of whatever. And a couple examples like the guy that we talked to, what was going on is he was just taking way too long on basic services,
Oh, yeah.
way too long. And it was a quick and easy correction because it's like we pulled him in. It's like, why are you taking too long? He looked at us like, what do you mean? It's like, what do you mean? What do I mean? You were at
Mhm.
this 15-minute stop for 45 minutes. That's not okay.
Yeah, no, not okay at all.
It's not okay. And he, at first, he kind of got defensive, but
Yeah.
he immediately corrected it and he knows. And like you said, now he knows if he's at a job that should be taking 15 minutes and he's looking at his watch, like, I've been here for 20 minutes. I got to pick it up because I know what's going to happen. If I take an hour at this one and an hour at the next one, I'm going to miss my time frames. I'm going to get written up again.
Mhm.
He knows that.
Yeah.
Another reason we actually wanted to create this episode, and I wanted to say this so we didn't forget it, is a big rule that we actually, or big set of rules that we started, were employee onboarding and what
Oh,
that
yeah.
initial path looks like. So we talked about it a few times where we have a set probationary period for the guys when they first get here, where it's like, show me what you got. Based on their experience, we do have a kind of a pay range we start them at, but then after that, we're very clear. With new hires, it's like no tech experience, no licensing, no pest control experience. You're riding along for this X amount of time. You need your applicator's license, or you know what I mean, whatever that looks like. It's going to take this amount of time. We're not even going to sit down and talk about the next steps until you've proven A, B, and C, right?
Mhm.
Until you've done this consistently for this long and proven yourself, we're not even going to talk about the next steps. So when they come in and they say, oh, well, I remember that this person was talking about a management position open, or this might be happening. It's like, hey, remember the conversation? And that's why documentation is important, which I'm getting better at. But you see what I'm saying, though? It's like we've eliminated a lot of that gray area for people to make up things in their head about that's not true, where, you get some frustrated employees who are like, oh, they dangled the carrot and there was this going on. I did all these things for them and they didn't give me anything. And it's like, now it's like, what are you talking about? We've
Mhm.
had conversations. This is your signature on the document. You chose to move forward with this path. So
Yep.
I just want to get out there because I know a lot of, not even just in pest control, but just in business in general. I feel like that's a really common issue where there's not that clarity on what steps are going to be taken for your growth as an employee. So that's helped us a ton.
Yeah, well, and piggybacking off of that is, in the last 2 episodes that we did, is when you onboard that person, you bring that person on, we've now set very clear expectations, and it's not rude. People will think it's rude.
Don't show up later, you're fired.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you say that from the beginning, and you can even kinda joke about it,
Yeah.
it's like, "Hey, just letting you know you're in your 90-day probationary period. During these first 90 days, if you call out sick, you're fired. If you show up late, you're fired. These are our standards. This is your time to prove yourself. If you can't do that within 90 days of being here, we don't really want you here."
Mhm. Honestly.
Yeah, it's okay. You wanna get upset and mad, leave now. You don't have to be hired here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you what those rules are now. So we set that standard very, very clear,
Exactly.
because I'd rather be more clear and transparent than hide that. And then they show up one day late and it's like, you're fired.
Mhm.
And then they're like, well, but I was 5 minutes late.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, you were 5 minutes late and you're fired now. And it's like, well, but you never said that like there's no leeway, there's nothing there. We never had that conversation. What's going on? So you could get rid of people too quickly that could be really good people,
Mhm.
you know. But I'll give you a prime example. We just hired a girl. She came on and she was late on day number 2.
Mhm.
And I sent her a message and I said, "We're going to sit down and talk about expectations. This is not okay."
Mhm.
And she was freaking out. And that's okay. That's perfect. That's exactly what you need to be, because
Mhm.
I don't know you, you don't know me,
Mhm.
and these standards need to be clear.
Mhm.
You're going to show up late. That's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to fire you if you keep doing that.
Mhm.
We'll be very, very clear and upfront about that.
Yeah.
Now, time went on. She just declined and we got rid of her. Right. We did it with a technician. Came on, came on for about 2 weeks, started having complaints with customers, started creating problems. So pulled them in. You're done. Turn your keys. Yep. See ya. But the expectations need to be clear.
Mhm.
Because if someone comes in and they're like, well, you didn't say anything, you didn't set that expectation clear. Now,
Yeah.
the technician one, of course, if you're fighting with customers, you're asking to get fired,
We
right?
expect.
Yeah. But even then, it's you need to have those standards set. You need to have those rules clear on the onboarding process. Okay. The next thing that we've done is you need to set those expectations and rules for growing.
Mhm.
Okay. So what Aaron said is we bring somebody on, we have that where it's okay, this is where it is. You get licensed, you've never been a tech before. We're not going to talk to you for X amount of time. And then we will. Then we'll sit down, we'll clarify what the next steps are and what's opening up and positions and things like that, or skill sets, whatever your company does and how you do it, right?
Mhm.
But we've created that now. And we just had a guy that we had to sit down and talk to, right? About what that path looked like to management. Because there was a lot of stuff that came up within a couple of weeks that was really bad
Mhm.
and really came back onto him. Uh, but that was what needed to be had, right? The conversation needed to be done, and standards and rules need to be very clear.
Mhm.
You want to become management here, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to learn. And this is what you have to pass to be able. I have to know that you know how to do that thing,
Yeah.
whatever that is, right? How to take care of cockroaches, how to take care of bed bugs, how to do inspections, how to take care of rodents, how to do all of that.
Mhm.
I created that, right? We created that. We sat down and said, this is what they have to be able to get to this point. And it was a really, really positive conversation.
Agreed.
There was no negative, in my opinion, there was no negative in it other than some of the stupid stuff that he was doing, but that got squashed and cleared up
Yeah.
right away. As he started to decline, we got on him, he got better
Mhm.
instantly. He knew we're watching, we're listening. We have customers telling us these things.
Yeah.
We're going to sit down and talk to you about it. And right away, we're not going to wait for months in hopes that it changes, but also that talk about this is the direction that you're going. And he understood, ah, I got to learn all of that. When it's like, well, of course, what do you expect a manager?
Yeah.
You're going to try to tell the cockroach specialist how to do his job when you don't even know how to do his job. I mean, it's kind of hard. Now, you don't have to know his job, but as a technician manager over all the technicians, you pretty much need to know how to do their job and what they're doing in case something does pop up and happen, right? And so we created that, and it was very clear, and it was a positive conversation because he said, "You know what? I'm not ready."
Mhm.
And it was like, perfect. That's
It's
perfect.
okay. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing's wrong with that. That's actually better because you would have failed. He would have failed. He would have got into it and he would have failed. And then he would have left and he would have left upset.
Mhm.
And so it's so much better to be that transparent with the rules and letting them understand this is the path to take and this is how you do it.
Mhm.
We don't need to be best friends
Nope.
to be in management. I don't need to like you
Mhm.
to be in management. We could literally argue every day if it's about the right things because you see it a different way than I see it. And I don't care. You could be management.
Mhm.
Literally.
Yeah.
Is if you are the person for that job and you're the best and you understand and I don't, then you're going to help me understand.
100%.
Even though we're butting heads, at least we're learning together.
Mhm.
As long as that doesn't affect you and it doesn't affect me.
Right.
But we do not have to be buddy buddy. We don't need to talk every day. We don't need to have a good relationship.
Mhm.
We just have to follow the rules. And the best person will be put in that position. And the worst person is not.
Yeah.
It's
Easier.
yeah, but it's that simple.
It is.
And if you create it that way, you get away from politics. And the other thing that I love, because this is what I absolutely love about it, is I am trying to make it so you can't say anything.
Mhm.
You can't say this is bad or I did something wrong or this was wrong or this isn't right. It's like, no, no, no. We are 100% upfront and clear.
Mhm.
So if you walk away, it's because you chose to walk away or because
Exactly.
you didn't want to do those certain things.
That you agreed to.
Mhm. But it's not has nothing to do with me. Has everything to do with you.
It's true.
So we try to put the power with the rules that we create, we put the power back into everybody's hands.
Mhm.
You want to grow? Then grow.
Yeah.
Nothing is holding you back,
Mhm.
but you have to create those rules. So whatever you're creating or how you're creating those and those standards, you have to let them understand,
Yeah.
right? You have to let everybody get it. And then you also have to follow it, but it's back on them.
Mhm.
You control your success.
Love
Right.
it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was going to say the other thing too is if you're we kind of been tailoring these episodes towards companies who are just hiring their first, second, maybe third employee. Maybe some of the rules you have to start creating based on what your company values are. Maybe you don't have managers yet. Maybe you're looking at what do I want if I'm a business owner? What do I want out of a manager? And before you
Mhm.
even get to that point of trying to create all these rules, get the basics down. Like everybody has to show up on time. Okay. Everybody has to do this. Perfect. You know what I mean? Like policies on like sick time, calling out, we had to upgrade.
Mhm.
Like vehicle policy, we had to upgrade. Sometimes it's just some of that basic maintenance stuff that's going to, you don't even
Yeah.
realize it's going to take you so much further. And it's like, oh my God, we have so much more time with all these, like with the little amount of headaches we deal with because the rules that we created.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole point is you end up making your life easy.
Mhm.
Right? It's so much easier to sit down with someone who signed a vehicle policy, you know, and you made them initial every paragraph and you read every paragraph with them,
Mhm.
which actually you're going to do here shortly with a new guy
Oh, yeah.
that came on. And Aaron's going to read through this policy. We have initial boxes next to each one. He understands the rules. He understands what is going to happen if each thing is broken. There is a rule attached to that,
Mhm.
right? It's not tribal knowledge anymore.
Yeah.
It's not something that I only know. Everybody who has a vehicle understands this and
Mhm.
signs it. It is.
Yeah.
It's not a secret. They get a copy of that.
Mhm.
Here you go. It's yours. There's no secret to it.
Yeah.
You get in a car wreck. We have our scoring system. If it's below that scoring system, your vehicle privileges are taken away
Mhm.
for an X amount of period of time. You have to you have to drive your own personal vehicle and pick up the vehicle,
Mhm.
or you can leave. Doesn't really matter, right?
Either way.
Doesn't matter to us.
Either way.
You're a flight risk.
Mhm. Seriously.
So if you got in a wreck and your score's that low, you're a flight risk.
Mhm.
But that's all it is. It's so easy and simple. So and it's going to seem overwhelming at first. So anyone who's going through this and you guys are just taking down notes and writing everything down and you're like, crap, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do that. Hey, it's okay. Just breathe,
Mhm.
because some stuff you're not going to be able to think of everything.
Yeah.
Some stuff I never thought I'd have to think about. I'm now thinking about it now.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think anyone, even a mentor or whoever you're talking to as you're starting that business and you're getting into it, I doubt that they would even be able to tell you everything,
Mhm.
right? Because every place that you live, rules are different, standards are different, your own
Mhm.
culture's different, whatever you want to create is going to be different. So you have to start to create those rules on your own.
Mhm.
And every company is a little different, you know? So pick one thing. I'm going to create a vehicle policy and that's it.
Mhm.
Think of everything in that vehicle policy and just do that. And then go to the next one, right? Attendance policy or PTO or vacation time.
Yeah.
What is that going to look like? And everyone has their own little spin and twist and flavor to it. We had one, he's out, back east, and he has, hey, no one can take vacation time during the busy season,
Mhm.
but everyone can have time off in the winter because we don't have a ton of work. So that's when everyone can take their vacation time. So he set that rule and that standard and it works for them, right? We don't have that necessarily here. We should,
Yeah.
you
Not
know.
yet.
And these are things that we're looking at and we play with and we kind of say, okay, scenario based, let's play with it and see if it works. If it
Mhm.
works, let's roll it out. And that's going to be the new standard and rule.
Right.
But we just take one thing at a time. This thing came up. Now we're going to do that.
Mhm.
That thing came up. Okay. Now we're going to focus on that. This thing came up. Okay. Now we're going to focus on that. You want to keep it simple still, because people will still create rules and then they forgot that rule, which actually contradicts this rule.
Mhm.
And so then you start getting this mess of rules that you're trying to create, or you go into an attendance policy procedure. And I actually just heard this one. They created a whole entire point system, and if you show up 15 minutes late, you get X amount of points, and after so many points you get a write-up, and after so many write-ups then you get fired. And then the whole point system is vacation based, and if you're sick, and it's so much and it's so confusing. You're not creating a board game, okay?
Yeah.
Like
Seriously.
you
Thank
don't
you.
need a whole entire rule book on some of these
Mhm.
things. It can be as simple as you have to call and tell us 2 hours prior to shift start,
Mhm.
or you want that time off, that's fine, but you got to give us notice.
Yeah.
Or you want to get off early this day and you already have a shorter day, that's fine. You have to tell us within a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Or sorry, you didn't tell us. You got to go do it.
Yeah.
you know but some of that stuff can be that simple. If you overcomplicate it, you do so many rules, you actually create more work for yourself, not less. So understand that as well as you start to create these rules. Is is it going to become a burden on you,
Yeah.
or is it going to alleviate the stress?
Mhm.
And find that out. It may be the best idea. We had, what was the one? I'll give you a bad example. I want to give you another bad example. um What was it? We were creating something. The guy was creating it, and it was like a whole, like A and B and C and D and E, and it was like a whole massive structure of rules. And what was that? Do you remember?
It was from employees no longer here. It was a quality control slash sales slash customer service web of basically adding like 3 jobs that weren't there for no reason at all. From what I remember.
It was pretty
Right.
bad. It was like category A now has a subcategory A and B and C and D and
Mhm.
E and F and G. And
Yeah.
then it was like, and you got a then you have another category B, and then you got A,
Mhm.
B, C, D, E, and then C, and same thing. And it was
It was all
this,
over the place.
it was bad. But the idea was there, but it was a terrible execution on it. It just
Mhm.
needed to be simplified and everything, which we ended up just trashing it all together.
Yeah.
Because that's what it came into. It was, okay, we're creating a workload that doesn't need to be done.
Mhm.
We're creating more work on office staff that doesn't need to be done. we're trying to make the job as easy as possible. And, and you can base your rules and your standards off of some basic things, right? One thing that I live by is I try to make doing business with us as simple as possible.
Mhm.
Meaning, I'll cancel your pest control company you have right now if you want me to.
Mhm.
I don't really care. So if I can make it so easy for you to say yes to me, then I'm going to do that.
Hmm.
Right. And I've kind of created a lot of those rules below that.
Yeah.
We want to create these rules. How are we handling customers and in what way? And are we making it easier
Mhm.
or are we making it harder?
Yeah.
And we've tried to make it very easy. You don't have to do anything other than be home,
Yeah.
in some cases to open up the door. And even then, don't put a key somewhere. Tell us where it is.
Yeah.
We'll get in. We'll handle it. We'll lock everything up. We'll send you pictures if need be.
Mhm.
Right. So those are the rules and the standards. We started creating those things is what do you want to be known for? What do you want? How do you want it handled?
Yeah.
And then start doing the rules accordingly to that.
I like it.
And it's been so much easier and it makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
As you're running and as you start to grow. And then you bring on people, you already have those procedures ready.
Yeah.
These are the rules. Just follow them.
Yeah. Hold
And
yourself
that's
to
it.
a higher standard. I mean, one of my quick rules is I assume that everywhere I'm at on a residential or commercial job, somebody's watching, somebody's listening.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's like it's saved me from a lot of you hear about stories of technicians saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, doing something stupid at a property. And not that I would, but it's like the fact that I'm always reminding myself, like, hey, either a subordinate's watching or, a colleague's watching or a customer's watching. You know what I mean? It's like I have to be on point. I have to be on point.
Yeah. And the last thing that we wanted to hit on before we come to a close is when you create these rules and you create the standards for what you want at your business, you need to understand that consistent training on those rules and standards have to be set across. You have to consistently do it over and over and over.
Yeah, we're on our like fourth or no, like maybe sixth vehicle policy reminder meeting. No,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously. It's like, you know what I mean? Or like lunch procedure, clocking in and out procedure. It's like, and me and Daniel kind of like, we get it now, but in the beginning, it's like, all right, let's do it again. Cause apparently they forgot.
Yeah, but it's amazing to see how many of the guys you always have one or two of the guys that are like, man, that was really good. I didn't know that.
Mhm.
And it's like, how the hell did you not know that? I just told you that a week ago, dude. But it's awesome because you're being repetitive and you're repetitive to yourself, which is so hard. See,
Mhm.
this is another thing that if you have a manager that you don't see, the manager knows all the rules. The
Mhm.
manager knows all these things and he's repeating himself over and over and over and over. And it sucks. It's not fun, you know? Like it's not fun for the guys who already know it. And it's not fun for the guy who has to go back and say it again and again and again and again.
Mhm.
But the good thing is as you're repetitive and you keep saying it and you're going it over and over and over, people understand and it starts to solidify in who they are. We know if you go fast on the freeway or on a back street, you could get a ticket.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this. It's
Mhm.
not a secret, right? We had an episode talking about the seatbelt. Everyone knows you gotta wear a seatbelt.
Mhm.
Everyone knows it's not a secret.
Yeah.
You get pulled over, the click it or ticket, right? I mean, it has been now just
Mhm.
seared in my brain and everybody's brain
Yeah.
because all the parents are screaming, the cars, you know, alarm things going off telling you got to put your seatbelt on.
Yeah.
It's there, right? It's always there. It's always reminding us. It's always on a repeat, it's just on repeat again and
Mhm.
again and again and again. You drive down the freeway, there's a speed limit, there's a speed limit, there's a speed limit, there's a speed limit, right? So you get that, but you have to do that over and over and over with the rules you create. So you can get that solidified because as you get your seniors in that are in the company and they've been there for years, they're going to get the new guys in and they're going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. You don't have gloves on. Why don't you have gloves on? You're not supposed to touch that bottle without gloves on. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And then people are going to start, reinforcing those rules for you as you're doing it too.
Yeah.
But it's so embedded in who they are that it starts to get there.
Mhm.
That's why you have to break a lot of bad habits from other companies that
Right.
pest control, guys come from, technicians, office staff. It's your customer service or your routes or running your route is great. But remember, you don't have to be 15 minutes on a lawn just spraying the same thing because you have to hit a certain time frame,
Mhm.
or you have to be here for 15 minutes every house. It's like, hey, throw that in the trash, dude. I don't care.
Yeah.
And neither do our customers care, right? Did you do a good job? Did you get it done? Okay, perfect. But that's why you bring over bad habits,
Mhm.
because those companies start to reinforce those bad habits, or they don't even have rules.
Yeah.
So then the tech starts to create bad habits.
Mhm.
And once again, you can call it a habit or you can call it a rule. They created their own rule and it's a bad rule, but now they've lived by it for so many years, they come over to you and you got to break that rule.
Always.
Yeah, you got to destroy them and get that corrected. So remember, you're going to have to put this on repeat and you're going to have to hear it. If you're an employee, you're going to have to hear it over and over and over. And it's not for you necessarily, it's for the person sitting next to your right or left, front or back.
Mhm.
It's for them that didn't get it, that don't understand it, that need to hear it. So be patient, with management and when they're going through it. But these rules have to be created so everyone gets, a clear path of where we're going, what's happening, and what do I need to do.
Yeah. So, point is, follow the rules. If there are no rules, create the rules. If you're not in a position to create those rules, share this with somebody that is. So, if your workplace is a jungle, no, seriously though,
Yeah.
I think we covered a lot of good things in this episode, and even the past couple episodes on this. Starting your pest control business has been really beneficial, even for me to talk about a lot of the feedback we've gotten. And please keep those questions coming in, keep those comments coming in. It really helps us either plan for the next episode or even get guests on. You guys know plenty of ways to get a hold of us: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and of course, DNApestpodcast.com. Mondays and Thursdays when new episodes come out. But thank you again for listening to the DNA Pest Control Podcast.